All right, guys, quiet on the set. We're ready in 3, 2, 1. You're on.
All right, guys, I'm here today with somebody that looks probably extremely familiar to you. If you have a kid in the Celina School District, and you may or may not know this other guy. He's very famous as well, and we're going to get around to that. But in case you don't know, the guy whose last name nobody can pronounce, Dr. Tom, how are you, sir?
I'm great. I'm fantastic. And
Really,
yes, he
really
is the celebrity. He's the Hollywood guy.
I don't think
I'm
so.
not the Hollywood guy.
I don't think so.
He is absolutely a celebrity. In case you have been following for some time, sitting around over there, that's Jeff Gravely. And I think I used to pronounce his last name very differently, and I'm glad. Am I saying it right now?
Gravely, yes, sir.
Gravely. I think I used to say Gravely or something. You've probably heard it all.
I probably didn't notice, or I probably corrected you. One of the two.
I think you corrected me.
Probably so.
But you do have your own episode on Celina Radio, okay, the podcast. You were running for school board, and obviously that turned out well because you're here. How
Yes,
did
sir.
it go?
It went well. I was blessed to be reelected for my for additional term. Yes, sir. To be
right.
going
Good
into my
stuff.
15th year.
And so we had really, really good response to that. Today we got Dr. Tom here. Somehow you're able to bring him in. And
He has a very busy schedule. The fact that you got him on your calendar speaks well of you.
I don't know. I think
This is
it
the most important thing of my week right now. Here, let's
it may speak more well of you. He may never come back after we're done today because I don't know. How many of our podcasts have you heard before? Have you heard a few of them?
more than a handful. How's that?
More
Yeah,
than a handful.
absolutely.
So you know what we can do. You know
Yes, sir. I
sometimes-
do. And I was ready for whatever question you're coming along. I said, let's study up on what he's going to ask all these.
Exactly. It's good stuff. So let's just kind of cover some of the basics first. I'm just very, very interested. So your last name, it's the name that a lot of people literally can't pronounce.
That's the whole impetus for Dr. Tom. So Maglisceau is the last name. It's made up. Grandpa Maglisceau was getting out of the family business and had to change the name and came up with Maglisceau. So when people, however they pronounce it, I just go with it. But for little kids, rather than them even trying to, I think most of my career in education, it's been either Coach Mag, T Mag when I was on a high school level, and Dr. Tom seems to have struck here.
So may I interrupt? You mentioned the family business.
Yeah.
I think that's the headline we need to talk about.
We don't talk about this,
Okay.
Jeff. We don't.
Okay.
It's family business. You keep it in the family.
You may not be on the school board anymore.
I just want to talk about the elephant in the room, sir.
So say it one more time for me.
Maglisceau.
Maglisceau. Okay.
My whole life we've said Maglisceau like Nabisco, and that usually seems to work for people.
That actually is really, really good. But Dr. Tom, obviously, way
or just
easier.
Tom.
Or
Tom is good.
Or Tom. How would you prefer it?
Tom.
Tom.
I always tell, just call me Tom.
Okay, I like it. Okay, well, I was probably going to refer to him about 100 times today as Dr. Tom. Now,
He makes me call him Dr. Tom.
That's understandable. though,
Definitely. I think I begged for it. You could just call me Tom, So.
I like it. And before we got started, there was a little bit of talk about so much of the stuff that's going on in Celina. And obviously, we could probably fill up. How many shows could we probably fill up with everything going on in Celina ISD?
Oh, we can. I mean, every time I'm around the kids, they're talking about things that they're doing and what's happening. And so I think when you're talking about our great kids in this community and the vast, vast number of things that they're all participating in, that's why I got an opportunity to come and brag on our district and what our kids are doing and what our fantastic teachers are doing. I don't ever turn down that opportunity.
Absolutely.
So,
and it is
yes.
good stuff. And I'm kind of in a position, maybe I have a slight advantage in the fact that I've got an 11-year-old about to be 12, okay, 6th grader in the district, and we've been here for some time now.
Yes.
And so I have been able to see firsthand just how amazing this Celina school district is. And I'm certain you would agree with me. It is different, isn't it?
It is absolutely different. Yes.
It's above the average, in my opinion. What would you say to that?
I would absolutely say it's above the average. And I would say that I've been in several school districts as an educator, but growing up, my father worked for IBM and we moved a lot. So I've been a part of a lot of different school districts and schools. And I think every school district likes to think that they've got something special and there's something different and everything. But I think what we have here in Celina that's different is palpable. And I think it's without a doubt the community embrace, the support from our families. And I think a lot of it's the love for our kids.
Absolutely. And you see that, you feel that, you sense that. And I'll be honest with you, and we were talking about our age earlier. I thought you were a whole lot younger than me. So, kudos
I'll
to you
take that. Let's go.
Right?
Yeah.
And we know Jeff is older than all of us. So, but no, I have no idea. Jeff is probably younger than us, but
No.
we're in that mid 50s range right now. And school has changed a lot since back in the day. So I graduated in 86. You were right behind me. Yeah, talk to me about the differences between, say, when you were growing up in school versus what is it like today that, is totally different back in our time.
I think the starting point that I always go to is that kids today, because of the exposure to the world that they are getting, they know more about all things. They know more about the world, but they know more about a lot of different things than we could have been exposed to when we were growing up. Even if you read the newspaper every day or the weekly reader in school, right? I mean, that's where we were getting, even with that information, our kids have so much information coming to them so fast. And, their brains aren't really capable of processing all that. So they need us, but that's what I would say is the second piece of things. At a time when kids need more structure, more support, more love than ever, our kids are dealing with more chaos in their lives than ever. And that's what I've noticed. I stopped even asking people, 10 years ago in my career in education, I started asking people, am I just getting older and, getting to be a crusty old man now? Or are times really that much harder? And to hear even younger teachers and old veterans alike, we all see the struggles that our kids are bringing with them into their schools, which again, why is Celina a special place? I think I said it before, and you'll probably hear me say it several more times, that it is the love that we're providing for our kids in our schools and the love in this community, even for kids who are missing some of the structure in their lives or missing a parent on, mother or father, or maybe even both parents, where they can find the support of the community in the schools and not just from the educators, but from the love that we get from the community. I think that's what's making a big difference for us. And we were talking about it before the broadcast. I just think the vast opportunity that we provide for our kids and growing, we're adding more and more things into our districts where kids can feel involved and engaged. When kids feel like school is a place where there's something for them there, they want to come to school. They want to be excited to be in school. And I think that improves everything.
So one of the things that I've noticed is that, everything's different in so many ways, but one of the ways that really kind of stands out to me, and it stood out to me when I was a police officer going into the schools sometimes, unfortunately get called into the schools kind of before the school resource officers. And especially right now, there's no corporal punishment. There's no paddlings anymore. And back in my day, coaches were almost like principals. Like they were, major respect. And, it was almost like you had a bunch of principals because it was all the coaches and the principal, assistant principal. How is that now?
I think that this is a slightly different question but that's good. I'm going to roll with you though. I think we're very purposeful about having kind of a flattened hierarchy all throughout our organization. And so, every kid, needs as many champions as they can. The one thing that helps kids to be more resilient is that they have more relationships. The more quality relationships a kid or a person, any of us has, the more resilience we're going to have. And so, where one person is a disciplinarian over the other, I think, kids need mentors, they need guides, they need people that are helping them to fill the gaps and figure some things out. And so it's an all hands-on approach, absolutely. And so I'm very clear about talking with our different leadership teams. But every time I'm in front of teachers, every time I'm from convocation forward, that every single one of us is a leader, and regardless of your position, you can lead from where you are, and that's everybody in our organization.
So is and I'm not speaking in favor or against anything, but is the corporal punishment thing, like I feared the paddle, I think, more than I feared that first, and then going home to tell Dad why that happened.
That was the biggest piece, wasn't it? It wasn't Absolutely. So much what Coach Morgan's going to do to me is what I'm going to find out. And I think, but the thing I would say, and I don't know if this is true of everybody, for me in my house, because of how I was raised and the respect and love that I had for my mother and father, the the biggest crushing blow to me was that I disappointed one of my parents, right?
100%.
And so that goes back to the guide and the mentor, and that, you know, when think of the greatest mentor in your life, would you ever want that mentor to say, wow, I'm real disappointed in what you just did right there? And not that, you know, we also want to issue a crushing blow at a kid. A kid knows when they've disappointed someone that means something to them, you know? And so I don't know. I don't know if that's answering your question, but I mean,
but all of that stuff, like, that's gone. And it seems like the whole approach, the whole educational approach is very, very different. I'd say it's better than when we were in school.
I think so too. And I know some of this will get chopped up, and so I'm not sure which answers will carry through and all, but well, no,
we don't edit this.
Well,
There's no editing.
No, but in terms of if you're shortening things or something, but for good reasons, but because I could go on sometimes. But when we were talking about the chaos in kids' lives, if you ask, so what's the definition of trauma? And trauma can just be stress. Trauma doesn't have to be something that, like, just completely shook your world. Too fast, too soon, too much. That's my wife, who's a counselor, will kind of talk. That's what trauma is. But trauma, if you get down to the essence of it, it's pain. And so we in education, I think, have gotten better at recognizing that kids are coming to us with more pain in their lives than what we probably experienced growing up. Again, we were talking earlier about how fast the world's coming at our kids, right? And how much is coming and how fast it's coming. And so our kids are having to sort through all different kinds of messages and who they are and what this should be about. And social media, you know, just takes it and magnifies it, right? And amplifies it. And so in our schools, do we want to put more pain on top of pain? Right. And the answer is no.
Absolutely.
We want kids to be resilient. If we want kids to be resilient, then we want to try to encourage as many positive relationships with their peers, but especially with adults that can help them.
So Jeff, you're on school board right now. And so, you know, we understand that you guys are doing an amazing job. Okay. Collectively, I'd say that we could have our child anywhere. We could go down to Dallas, Highland Park. We could go to Prosper, but we choose Celina for many, many reasons, and the school district being paramount on that list, right? So what's it like, Jeff? You're probably in communication with the educators, the teachers, the staff in the schools. So I know firsthand that the kids are having a great experience in Celina ISD. What kind of feedback are you getting from the teachers and the administrators? Is this a great school district to work in? Does it match this great experience that the kids are having?
So you asked a question to Dr. Tom earlier about what makes Celina special. I've been fortunate to meet, I don't know, a couple dozen new teachers that we've recently hired that's coming to their district. And most of them were from Frisco, some from Plano. And to a person, I asked them, how do you like Celina? How's it been? And, you know, it's great, you know, the good answers. And I said, why are we different? Explain to me as if I don't know, because this is all I know. And they said that the people are so warm and welcoming and people genuinely care. That is one of the biggest things, you know, everything Tom said, great, I agree with it. But until you know that somebody cares about you, that's when it matters. It's because you can see their honest concern and care when they talk to you and they care about what you're saying. That matters. In our entire district, the people of our community, they care, because once you come into our fold, you're in our fold. Your family, we love you. We're going to take care of you.
And you want to add to that?
Only because he said it, and I don't think he knew, I knew what he was saying. He's emphasizing too that. But that's not just the kids. We consider ourselves a learning organization. If we're a learning organization, then that means everybody's a learner. And so what I just said about kids, we've got to do the same for our adults too. And I think that's what those teachers were feeling. And
if we show that to the people that are coming into our district from the teachers, yeah, that's who I was speaking with. If you show the love and care to those people, they're going to pass it down.
Absolutely.
So it's not hard.
Collectively, we're building something that's going to improve and get better and better and better with time, because it's like this whole experience, right? If you have happy educators, if you have happy staff, if you have this love, this connection. If you have this kind of environment, how can we fail?
You will have small losses, but you won't fail long term because we're not perfect. Our district's not perfect. Our community's not perfect. Our state, our country's not perfect.
So
but we can get better.
In speaking to that, like what are some of the challenges right now that we're facing as a school district? And if you want to kind of answer that, and then Dr. Tom kind of follow up on that.
It's basically why Dr. Tom does what he does. We have so many people moving into this community that we can't. It's hard to keep up. We're doing the best we can to plan for facilities, for staff members, for just maintenance and operations, just things like that, just to keep up. Because had I listened to Corbett Howard in 2010 when he came to our school board, I failed. When he came and he gave us the numbers of the people that were coming to Celina, I thought he was crazy. And he wasn't. He probably shot 50% low. I mean, the numbers he put out were probably 50% of what we have. Ron, listen to this. In 2014, the population of our town was right around 6,000 people ish. You know how many kids we got in the school today?
Many.
Almost 6,000. We're at 56.
Wow.
100.
Wow.
So think of that in 10 years.
Yeah.
So show me somebody who's managed that well. We're doing the best we can. And we've learned from people from Frisco. They've worked with us hand in hand as it prosper. That's the biggest challenges we have.
So the growth. So it's a blessing.
It's a great problem to have.
And everyone is coming here because they love it.
But because of the people that are here. And the people that are here, if we can invoke our love to them and have them love like we love and have a community spirit, a family, it will continue to be a bigger, greatest place in the world.
It's like a big love fest. It's just going to be a bigger one. Yeah. It's just going to get better and better. No,
I'm embellishing somewhat, but you understand.
But I sincerely mean that. I literally no hate nor anything negative towards any other school district, but I came up in Dallas and Garland and Mesquite schools. Okay. A world of difference from what we do today. And then having a child in Frisco schools. And I love Frisco. I love so much about Frisco. And I see Celina kind of coming along in so many ways, just the way that we're developing, the way we're growing as a city, things like that. And I feel like right now, what I see in Celina schools is the very best of 56 years of knowledge so far. So I think we're definitely doing something amazing. So I'm not embellishing. I love it. I think it's amazing. But do you want to add to that challenges that we're facing as the school district? What else?
Well, I think it was one of the last words he used was community, and so our core principles that I say of everywhere I go. We just keep reminding all of us, and I always talk about having it tattooed. Our core principles tattooed on your soul. That community is generally the first one. They're not in an order, but it is great that community is the first one. And it's something we share with the city. It's a core value of the city, and it's alive and well. So how do you build community, and what is a community about? A community is about being for each other. When the tornadoes happened not too long ago, our schools and our kids were the first to go out there and to start responding, to start supporting. And a lot of that was the leadership of the adults, from Coach Elliott, Bill Elliott, with our athletic department, getting his team together, to families saying, you know what, we just want to help. And churches, and some of our churches needed our help. And whether you went to that church or not, we needed help in our schools, and we had folks. So community, excellence, innovation, leadership, stewardship, those are our 5 core principles. And so how do you maintain community as you continue to just have this exponential growth? And again, because I keep looking at it as opportunity, it's exponential opportunity. It's going to make our community better. Excellence, well, it's just been that many more things we've got to be excellent at, but we're going to be excellent at it because that's how we do it. And then innovation, how do we think differently while making sure we maintain and hold on to the things that are important to us, all of our traditional values. And then that's up to our leadership and stewardship for taking care of things. I mean, those core principles, they ring off my heart because they're on my heart. But it's neat that the city has most of those same core principles as their core principles. And the life connected piece of things, that even when that's no longer, the slogan for the city, it's what I'm always going to remember most about when I came here. What I felt was we're all connected here. And so come to our community, come get connected.
I like it. I like it. And I know that right now we're kind of up against, there's maybe like a bond thing coming up.
Sure.
There's some things like that. And I know that can be extremely confusing. And so I don't want everybody clicking out of this when we talk about this. It's important stuff.
It's very important.
And we're going to have some fun stuff following the stuff that's maybe a little more intensive in the thought processes and the explanations and stuff like that. So if you truly want to know about Dr. Tom and where he likes to eat in Celina and some stuff like that, hang on, because that's gonna follow some of this. But seriously, talk to me about what we're facing with some of the up and coming things. I know in November we've got something coming up. Talk to me. What are we facing right now?
Yeah, and we can make this fun too. We can make this fun.
Please make it fun.
We will make it fun. But yes, we have our board called for a referendum to be put on the November 5th ballot, and I think there's another thing on the ballot that in November too. Maybe a couple things on that ballot. But this ballot is an opportunity for our community to come out and have a voice about what we want for our schools. I'll speak about that, and we can talk about the spring a little later. But it's called a VADER, which stands for Voter Approval Tax Rate Election.
So just by default, Vader and like Darth Vader, already sounding bad.
Yeah, but I just it's a school district referendum, and it's on the ballot. It's not even going to say Vader, and that's part of why we want to make sure our public. We're not allowed to electioneer. Yes, certainly we're putting this forward for our community to consider because we do believe it can be beneficial for our schools. And most importantly, it's beneficial for our teachers and our students. This is an opportunity for us to maximize our local tax dollars. And I could certainly, back up here in a little bit and talk about, how we got to this state where we are in this district for financially. But this election it can generate $1.85 million that can come into our maintenance and operation costs, which goes for teacher salaries and raises to keep up with inflation. But it goes to all of our academic programming, extracurricular, safety and security on our campuses, but just being able to pay our bills, because our bills just keep going up. And our funding formula in the state of Texas has not changed since 2019. But in your own household, and everyone listening knows in their own household how much the financial landscape has shifted. And so this is a great opportunity, again, for us to maximize our local tax dollars without raising your taxes at all. So
So Jeff, you want to boil this down for me just a little bit? Like, put this in the kind of language that Ron Lyons is going to understand now, and probably most people.
You notice how he turned to me for the simple talk?
You go
simple talk. Yeah. So we have compressed the board has compressed the tax rate to the smallest the state will allow us. So, and I'm trying to, Dr. Tom will correct me on the dates here, but a few years ago we were at a $1.50 tax rate. Now we're at $1.24 and change. So what this is doing, the vote is to allow the school district to take the money that Ron Lyons already pays the district, and instead of spending 5 cents toward interest and sinking fund, which is toward our bond, you're saying, you know what, Celina, you can take those 5 pennies and you can put it towards your maintenance and operations so you can pay off your daily bills, your teacher salaries, the maintenance of your buildings, the safety and security, CTE courses, the maintenance and operations that the district uses daily. That's all this is about, is you agreeing to take the money you've already said you're going to give us, which is by law, and we're using 5 cents to put in a different bucket. That's all it is.
So it's not going to cost.
It's not costing you
more.
Not even a tenth of a cent more. No.
In fact, they've already cut your tax rate for this year. So the 2024 tax rate, as he mentioned, has already been determined by our board, set at 1.2358. That tax rate is going to be for 24-25. The question within the election that's going for the public is a consideration to take 5 cents. It's 5.11, but right. 5 cents and add it to maintenance and operation. And to support our taxpayers, we're taking 5.11 cents out of INS. And so net zero loss for you as a taxpayer, except for the fact, again, we've cut your taxes. They've already cut your taxes. And you said $1.50 something. Our taxes were up above $1.60. So
Yeah, 164.
the past 6 years, we have reduced the tax rate in Celina ISD.
We're changing everything
we
around
go.
here today.
We've reduced the tax rate by almost 41 cents since 2019, and doing all that while costs just continue to rise, and we have doubled in size. And he mentioned that over here.
Well, then Ron Lyons is going to ask him, why do my taxes keep going up? Everybody asks that.
So let me just actually. So why do my taxes keep going up?
Because your property value goes up. Because
So it's not because
all those people are moving here, so it's supply and demand.
Right.
If people want to live here, then
the cost
go up.
exactly. Property values go up.
Your taxes
So I'm paying
go up.
more in taxes, but
Yes.
it's not because
Correct.
of what's going on with the school board and how the money is being spent improperly. Not at all. As a matter of fact, it sounds like it's been corrected to the best that the state law will allow. And now the decision's been made that by the board, I'm assuming, that we want to reallocate some of that money that's already earmarked. It's already been planned for. But now, instead of going here, I think you said earlier, from this pocket to this pocket.
Yeah, and the two buckets are INS. That's the debt services. So in 2019, we moved forward with a bond for $600 million bond for all the buildings and infrastructure that we've been working on the past several years. That rate we are able to reduce and still be able to maintain our debt services. What's been hurting us is maintenance and operations. The 41 cents, almost 41 cents that we've reduced in the past since 2019, that's all come out of maintenance and operations. So we've doubled in size, and which means we have to hire that many more teachers. We're also trying to continue to give compensation raises for all of our staff, not just teachers, because everyone around us was already paying at a higher rate. And as we've grown and we've gotten more and more students and needing to hire more teachers, we don't want teachers to come to Celina ISD and say, well, I can go down the road and make $10,000 more. We're trying to keep up with our neighbors that are much larger districts. One thing on all this tax business that is, as us as taxpayers in this district, and I'm one of them, is because of the good things happening in Celina, and because we'd like to say because of the good things happening in our schools, we also have a lot of businesses coming to us now. And those are property tax values that come without children, right? And so we are getting offset by these big businesses that are coming, by the hospitals that are coming to us, and all the things that are coming our way are helping us with our property values, and it's allowing us to be able to do what we're looking to do.
Gotcha. So this will be on the November ballot.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be a big turnout, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So give me an idea. Is there any particular verbiage on it? What are we looking for on that ballot? How is that going to work out?
Yeah. And I'm glad you asked that. Part of why we really wanted to talk about this particular piece of things, again, we'll talk Celina ISD all day long and the great things our kids and our teachers are doing, but we're very concerned for the public that the language that we are required by law to put on the ballot is very confusing and doesn't really say anything about what we just talked about. The language on the ballot is going to speak to an increase in the revenue from last year off of, for maintenance and operations to the revenue this year. We as a community have doubled the tax revenue that's coming in because of the property values, but also the amount of property coming in, all the development that we see around us, including the businesses. We've doubled as a school district. And so the amount of revenue that's coming in, the problem is we've also become a property wealthy district. And we can talk more about just property wealthy districts, but we're now sending, we estimate this year we're going to be sending $1.6 million of local property tax that'll be going back to the state this year because we're now a property wealthy district. And that's something
under Robin Hood.
And that's under Robin Hood. And, they've said they've changed the name of that, but it's still commonly referred to as Robin Hood. And that's the thing. We want to make sure that our voters are informed. The verbiage that's on the ballot is going to simply speak to the fact that it's a special referendum by the school district, and it's going to talk about a 34.67 increase in revenue. That's simply speaking to the increase in revenue from last year to this year through the tax rate. So even though we've cut the tax rate, and again, the state's going to get their portion of that. the difference in revenue in maintenance and operations is going to be about $10 million. The district doesn't get all that $10 million. It goes into a whole funding formula, and what the number that we would expect to get is $1.85 million that can go specifically into maintenance and operations. Just real quickly, the two buckets, INS, that's debt services, that money can't come over to pay for salaries. It can't come over to pay for bills. It can't come over for things like that. All of our operations dollars have to come out of that other bucket. That's the maintenance and operations. And so by asking the public to support adding 5 cents tax to that bucket, the maintenance and operations, we want to be good stewards. It's a core principle. We want to be good stewards of the tax dollars. We want to help our public by saying we're going to be able to reduce your INS by the same amount of dollars.
Okay, so Jeff, I'm going to need you again here. We need to. Here's how this works. If I said, "Hey guys, listen, I'm gonna tell you guys about this thing, and it's this device has two big wheels on it. It's got these two little pedals on it. You're gonna have to balance on it. You're gonna have to get your feet up on it somehow without falling over, and then you're gonna want to turn your feet, and this thing's gonna move. And when it moves, you're gonna have to steer where it goes. If you squeeze this handle on this side, the back wheel's gonna stop. If you squeeze this side, the front wheel's gonna stop, and then you have to change gears as you do this.
So that's me talking. I just lost the entire universe on how to ride a bike.
But then I asked Jeff. I say, Jeff, what was all that? And he says, you get on the bike and ride. So Jeff, what in the world? I understand right now that the verbiage that we're not raising tax rates. That's not what this is. Although it could appear to be that way, and the verbiage on the actual ballots is going to, in essence, make it look that way. Am I following right?
So Ron, if the majority of the voters are like me, they'll skim through stuff and try to hit the highlights. So the highlight I would see on this particular referendum would say 37% increase. That would be one thing that would stick out to me. An additional 10 million something that would jump out to me. The way it is worded is so, by definition, it's correct, but it doesn't tell you everything. And if we weren't broadcasting, I tell you, joke how data can tell you some, but it can't tell you all the stuff. Anyway, so what it's saying is correct, but what it's not telling you is that all we're doing is taking the money you're already giving us and we're just allocating it in a different bucket. It's very simple. Yeah, how come he always looks to me to dumb it down?
That's what I said.
But he knows I can dumb it down.
I just have to. I hear it, but you
get the glazed donut look, and you go, what?
We want to be sure that we're actually following it appropriately and understanding it.
Yes.
And I know that this is so. It's challenging for people to follow all this.
No, it is.
Well, because when you read this stuff, it bores you to death,
right?
And in the end, they're going to say, "No, I'm about to pay more taxes." No,
right?
If unless you're educated and understand it, that's like with everything else. If you really take time to look into it and figure out what it's trying to tell you, then it will make sense. But people, they're going to be going to vote for that whatever that big race is that happens out of D.C.
That real big one.
Yeah, and I bet you could poll 100 people, and not 98. I bet not 2 out of 100 could tell you what else is on that ballot.
Absolutely, I know that's the case.
That's the voter apathy of this country.
So you're not allowed to necessarily, as you said, you can't really. I don't know what the
electioneer
word is. Electioneer about this, right? I was going to say politicking. You can't. You're not allowed to do that, but you are allowed to inform people. You are allowed to discuss it from a very kind of a candid, central, neutral perspective, maybe whatever. Is it okay for me to ask this? Is it okay for you to answer this and tell me if it's not? Is it the general feeling of the school board and you, Dr. Tom, that this is a healthy or a good thing for the ISD? Is it okay to answer that question, that you would support this, that you think people should vote in the affirmative? I guess that obviously you guys put it on the ballot, but so I wouldn't think that you would do that, but I just want to understand, is it
so may I answer that, Dr. Tom?
Yes, absolutely.
Because you were about to ask.
I literally
I was
can't
going to
wait.
discuss how to build a bike. You're just going to tell me to ride it.
Yeah. So I would answer the question: is it okay? Do you support this? Or are you okay with it? I said my first response to that: do you support increasing our teacher pay?
There you go. I like it.
Do you support additional safety and security measures for your schools?
So do you guys know how it's going to be? So you understand the verbiage on the ballot, but is it Is it in favor or not in favor? Is it yes, no? Is it?
It's for and against.
So for and
Yes.
against.
And one of the things that we'll do, and it's hard to do in this type of broadcast and whatnot, but we've got social media going out, and one of the things we actually have a picture of what it'll look like on the ballot.
Well, actually, I will if you'd like. I'd literally love to throw it up on the video version of this.
Because we've got that, and we'll put that so that people say when they come to it, they go, okay, this is that thing. Because it doesn't speak to everything that we've been talking about. It doesn't even really talk about how to build a bike even. So.
It is confusing, but it is coming up. It's on the November ballot. What else do we have that's similar? Is there more, or is it just the Vader deal, or what else do we have?
For the fall, it's just the Vader. And again, because of our tax base and the support of our community and all that, we're being very careful just to put this on here, let people digest this and have this on its own. We'll come back around, and we'd love to come back around and talk about this some more in the spring too, is that last year we did have a long range planning facility planning committee that worked through the spring, largely of community members and staff members. We had board members that were sitting in on the meetings and just listening, but they put forth a lot of recommendations because the 2019 bond that was passed by the community with a very large support base, those bond projects were supposed to carry us through 2029. That was the understanding then. You were talking about Corbett talking about the growth, whatever it was in 2010. In 2019, we thought our growth was going to look like a certain pattern, and that the exponential growth was, supposed to still to be coming at this point in time. But those the 2019 bond projects that were going to carry us through 2029, by the fall of 2026, we'll completed all of those projects. And so in planning a school, whether it's a high school, middle school, or elementary school, the planning, as you can imagine, or anyone who's been in construction, it's at least 18 months ahead of time. And for a high school, it's as many as 5 years ahead of time of really getting the community behind it and involving everybody. And so knowing that the exponential growth that's upon us now, we're going to need more facilities beyond what we'll have on the ground by 2026. And so our board has discussed this. It's been discussed in open session that we anticipate coming to our public in May of 25 with a proposal for new school facilities, school buses, and the things that we'll need to get through the next several years. And again, our whole goal will be that we'd want to put this forth to the public without it needing to be a tax increase for our community. And our models thus far look like we're going to be able to do that, but we need to see what our community wants us to put on the ballot.
Gotcha. I like it. So that's springtime. That's coming up. That's next election.
Yes, it is next election. But while we're going out and advertising this Vader and everything, we'll be putting together a group of community members to talk about what we're going to want to put on the bond. We've got to just keep on going. That's one of the things that it'd be great if every day we could just come in and just focus on taking care of the kids that we've got sitting right in front of us. But for years now, ever since I first got here, everything we're doing is about planning and bringing our community together and planning for the excellence that we want to continue in this community.
So every time that I see you talk, and I've seen you at things like from, I think, Quarterback Club, EDC, to you name it, you've been everywhere.
Yes.
And you always do a great job of talking, and many, many times, it's a whole lot of statistics. It's a whole lot
Sorry about that.
No. It's a good thing. I'm just saying one of the things I wanted to do was maybe not focus solely on statistics, because we are a fast growing. You don't have to do much around Celina to realize that we're growing fast. But I do want to talk briefly about statistics and stuff. So I'm not going to hold you to hard numbers on anything, although you probably know them very, very well. But what size are we now, and where are we headed? What do we look like school wise? How many school buses do we have? I mean, give me some idea. Help me understand where we're at right now and where we're headed.
Well, and someone just asked me the other day about school buses, that, we're running all these buses, and, about times and being able to have enough bus drivers for all of our kids and all of our routes. We have to have additional buses because we have buses that are running routes, and we also have to take kids to games and things like that. So we're going to constantly need more and more games. We're sitting at 50. We just turned over 5,300 kids this morning, and now we'll continue through that. We've been growing by as much as 250, 300 kids through every school year, and anticipate that to continue. So when Jeff mentioned 5,600 kids, that's about where we anticipate we'll be sometime right after the midwinter break or Christmas break. And so, how many buses will we need? That's what we'll put pen and paper to that, and have our bond committee consider that. The growth we anticipate, our demographer that we're working with has us on a fast track, and he anticipates that by the end of this decade, we could be as much as 14 to 16,000 students in our district. And so we're anticipating that, say the number from last spring that will triple in size by the end of the decade is what we anticipate. That's an easy statistic it would triple. But that's, and of course the city's saying the same thing. Their demographer talks about how many people we'll have in the city and fully over 100,000 students before the end of the decade. I mean, 100,000 citizens before the end of the decade.
Right. And maybe 100,000 students.
We're a ways away from 100,000 students. Yes.
So when I drive through Prosper, and I was in shock recently, I drove through Prosper. I had no idea. I focus so much on Celina, and rarely do I get into Prosper and, go down the side streets and stuff. It's usually Preston Road or the Tollway, right? All the way through to whatever the destination is. But I was shocked at how many schools I saw.
Yeah.
So how is Prosper doing? What is, and I know you're not Prosper ISD.
No, but they're good friends.
Absolutely.
We're very
So
close.
how are they, and how close are we, like, would you say year wise behind where they're at today?
They can remember where we are right now, and when I talk to Holly, and that's one thing that is beneficial about having so many friends in all these other districts to be able to help us with that they can help us with the things that they learned. Rick Reedy from Frisco was the superintendent of Frisco and led them through that. He's become a close friend. We get together fairly often just for me to just listen and learn from him. And so there's not a formula, because every community is different, and some communities may want to support portable. We call them learning cottages. Some communities may want to.
Is that what they are?
Yeah,
they never felt like learning cottages. They felt like drafty old cabins.
No. We have good learning cottages, but what appetite does your community have for being able to do that, and does our instructional model, support that? What are the different things? Which is why we involve the community in all of our decisions. We involve the citizens who are going to be impacted by this, and we have kids on our committees too to help make sure that they give their perspective on things. And so it's always been important for us in Celina to have smaller class sizes. It's always been important for us to have excellent facilities for our kids, and we're going to keep delivering on that. But we're going to engage the community all the way through.
So when you go into these schools now, and we've made the switch from Martin to Moore now, and they're amazing. The schools are absolutely, they're like works of art.
Yeah.
They're nothing like, there's a big difference,
Yes.
go back 50 years ago, kindergarten Ron, like literally completely different. And there's a lot of nostalgia. If you go over to the ISD building over here with the wood floors and all of that stuff, but it's changed so dramatically. Is that kind of a common path? Like, is Celina going to stay kind of up on that edge of technology and this more modern architecture and the classrooms the way they are? Is that kind of our trajectory right now?
Yes, and with innovation being a big part of our core principles there. I heard someone say, with a tip of the hat to the past, a hat off to the tip of the past, and a tip forward to the future, that we want to make sure, again, we stay who we are, what we're about, while also looking to see about how we do things differently. We just recently, and Jeff was part of this committee, looked at some builders and some architects to come in and help us with the next chapters of things. And we're thrilled to have VLK, a local architect, that's going to come in and support our district as we start working with all of our constituents. And I think that was one of the things that impressed us the most about VLK was how they were going to come in as thought partners with us and engage all of our teachers and our kids and our parents to talk about the facilities that we want to have moving forward. And again, not that there's anything wrong with our facilities. As you mentioned, they're beautiful facilities, but are they working for what we're needing today? Because things have changed since, before the pandemic, post-pandemic, it's a different world. And how do we try to see the future and what the future is going to look like?
So Ron, probably you talk about 50 years ago. Back in the day, here's your building.
Right.
Go teach your kids.
Right.
Well, what we're doing now is we're engaging with the the teachers and the kids, and we're seeing how the collaboration's working, what's working well with the CTE, what's working well with this open area. And what we're trying to do is come up with a new footprint and for the new schools, what's best works for this age group of children, an elementary school. What collaboration rooms work best? What's benefiting the teachers? And then we're going to model that going forward. And then it's like everything else. Your first home, I imagine, when you and your wife got married, depending on when that was, you might have bought a starter home.
Right.
And hey, this is great. This has been, but if that's all you know, that's all you know. But then when you start becoming more wise, you say, I wish I'd have changed this. I wish I'd have changed that. That's what we're going to start looking to do is, what did we learn from this? What can we improve on as we build these buildings so we can make them more collaborative areas and enhance our CTE?
Okay.
And as a learning organization, these folks that we're bringing in, North Star Builders has been building all of our buildings, and Claycomb's been designing them, and Claycomb's done a wonderful job, and they'll still be engaged with us. But we've got these facilities, these elementary schools, we're 4 iterations in through that model. What have we learned, and how do we want to build on that? Middle school 2, that's about to start breaking ground here in just a couple months, down a little further south in our district. Middle school number 2 is going to have a very strong look and feel to more middle school, but it's going to be a completely different building.
Wow.
It's going to be a 3-story building that's more enclosed, and again is bringing more community about the room. And we'll look to see about how we want to keep growing and the model we have that really perfectly complements what we need in our community.
Thank you for joining us for part 1 of the Celina Radio podcast featuring Dr. Tom Maglisceau. And of course, you'll want to join us for part 2 because Dr. Tom is going to dive into some of the more controversial issues that are facing the Celina Independent School District. And of course, you know your host, Ron Lyons, probably has something up his sleeve that's going to make everyone in the studio laugh. So we'll see you on part 2 of the Celina Radio podcast with Dr. Tom Maglisceau.